All right, so we're back for day 3 of Brioche week, and today we're going to be doing one color brioche in the round. I've cast on 80 stitches, and I'm actually on an 8 now because, well, I have a 16-inch circular number 8 needle. So I've actually gone up to a worsted weight yarn. If you have a 16-inch that you can use in 6s with a sport weight yarn, you're welcome to keep going that way. I have cast on 80 stitches, certainly not necessary. You can use DPNs if you prefer. I'm just not very comfortable with DPNs, so I always go to a circ. You'll notice that I clipped a stitch marker into the loop right at the end of my cast on. This isn't going to necessarily be important in the first round, but once we get to the second round, you're not actually going to want that between your 2 working stitches. I just find it a little fiddly. So we are going to start our first round the same way we have all of our setup rows in the past. We're going to knit 1, slip 1 with yarn in front. There's our slip 1 yarn over. We're going to knit 1, bring the yarn to the front, slip 1 purlwise, knit 1. So we're going to continue that all the way around the beginning of the round until you get to the end. One difference you'll notice with this rather than knitting flat is we're not going to have a selvage stitch, so you can carry this knit 1, slip 1 yarn over all the way around to the very last stitch of your round. Okay, so here we are at the last stitch at the end of the setup round. I've got my yarn in front and I'm going to work my last slip 1 yarn over. We can see I've got my little marker here dangling to show the end of the round, and the reason I don't want that actually attached to any of the needle is because we've got a little bit of wrapping to do. On subsequent rounds you can absolutely unclip it and move it to the marker, or pardon me, to the needle. Just this first go round I don't want to confuse you with it being in the way. So if you look, we've got our single stitch starting this round, and as we know from the last couple of days, if it's a single stitch it's going to be a slipped stitch. So what we need to do is bring this working yarn around in a complete yarn over, and we're going to slip this first stitch purlwise. But now we're on a brioche purl round, which is what the second round is. So we have to yarn over again to get that yarn all the way to the front to brioche purl that first set of double stitches. So effectively what you've done is you've ended a round with a slip 1 yarn over, and now you're starting a round with a slip 1 yarn over. So the reason that I didn't want the marker in between is it just gets confusing with all those yarn overs. As I say, when you get more comfortable with all of those yarn overs, you can absolutely move the stitch marker up to where you're comfortable with it. And then we're simply going to slip 1 yarn over and brioche purl all the way around to the end of the round. There's really nothing more to tell you about it. It's that easy. Happy brioche purling. See you in a minute. Okay, so I'm back to the last stitch again. I've got my marker here, but I've also got 2 wrap stitches right next to each other, which is how I know that. So I'm going to brioche purl my last 2 stitches together. And then we're going to see, you've got this funny little doo-doo there. That's why we keep that marker out of the way. Okay, so now we're going to start round 3. And we've got a double stitch, which means we're going to brioche knit those 2 together, bring the yarn to the front, and slip a stitch, brioche 2 together. So that's as complex as knitting in the round, or brioche knitting in the round gets. You're going to be working your setup round, which is your knit 1, slip 1 yarn over. You're going to work round 2, which is your slip 1 yarn over followed by a brioche purl. You're going to work those 2 sets of stitches around. And then round 3 is going to be your knit 1, slip 1 yarn over. And that's it. You're going to repeat rounds 2 and 3 all the way up until you get tired of knitting them. So I'm going to knit a few more rounds and show you what brioche purl in the round looks like, and then I'll let you go for the day so you can go practice it. Okay, so I've worked for another 5 rounds, and I'm actually about to finish the BRK round, which is round 3, so I'm just going to work that last slip 1 yarn over. You can see I've moved my stitch marker up into the work. I've gotten comfortable with where all of the slip 1 yarn overs go, since that's what complicates the whole stitch marker situation. I just wanted to quickly show you before we say goodbye what the work looks like. It's very similar to the previous flat work we did. I'm trying to find a good way for you to see this. We've got our stockinette columns here with our ribbed columns in the middle, or in between each one. And that's really as simple as one color brioche gets in the round. You work your setup round with your knit one, slip one yarn overs. Your second round is going to be your slip one yarn overs, followed by your brioche purls, and then your third round is your brioche knit, followed by the slip one yarn over, and you simply repeat rounds 2 and 3 until you reach your desired length. Tomorrow we're going to talk about brioche knit in the round using 2 colors. And believe it or not, it's even easier than brioche in the round with 1 color. I promise. You'll love it. Thanks for coming today. Hope you had fun.